Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Driving the Wheels Off. So I've done tons of brake videos over the years, from calipers to rotors to master cylinders, everything, but I've never done a video for just brake pads. So today we're going to change the brake pads on my 2013 F-250. So let's get started. So today we're going to be using the TRQ brake pads. They're semi-metallic. And the reason I went with semi-metallic pads is because I frequently have a large trailer attached to my truck, and these give me that extra stopping power that I really need. And if you're looking for these brake pads, I will have a link in the description below. We're going to start on the rear passenger wheel, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this cap off. Now let's loosen the lug nuts. Don't take them off, just loosen them up. Let's go ahead and lift this side of the truck up, and we'll remove the bolts completely, and then we'll remove the wheel. We're going to come up here under the hood, and I'm going to pop the cap off of the .3 reservoir. Now we need to break the two big bolts on the caliper loose, and on the rear here they are 13/16. All right, so next what we're going to try to do is we want to get in here between the brake pad and the plunger, and we want to try to push that plunger in to release the brake pad. So we're going to push that in a little bit, and this is the reason why we opened the .3 to try to alleviate some of the pressure and allow that fluid to push back into the reservoir just a little bit. Now that we have them equalized and they're pushed away, there's no more pressure. Now we should be able to pull this caliper straight off. And we want to put it somewhere out of the way, just like that. And we just want to make sure that there's no pressure on this hose. I am going to take this rotor off just to clean inside. When you're removing this rotor, you're probably going to want to get yourself a rubber mallet, and you're just going to bang this around in a few spots, maybe from both sides, depending on how tight it is. This is what it looks like on the inside. I actually use a squirt bottle with used motor oil, and I'll spray everything inside that's rusty. Okay, now that I have finished with the used motor oil, I'm going to take the brake part cleaner, and I'm going to spray the pads, and I'm going to spray inside the rotor. Let's go ahead and put our rotor back in place. So these rear pads, you can see these weren't too terrible. Here is the old pad versus the new pad. So you can see there's about half, but we're going to go ahead and replace them with these today. Now, unfortunately, it looks like on this one, in order to remove the little brackets for the brake pads on this particular set, I'm going to need to take this off of the caliper. So we need to remove those two smaller bolts there. Okay, so I'm going to be using the 5/8. All right, now that we've removed that bracket, now we can set the caliper up and out of the way. And we can just remove those big bolts that we had put in there temporarily. Now we can take that bracket off. We're just going to take a little bit of our oil, and we're just going to clean that up a little bit, give it a little bit of moisture. We can remove these little brackets, and I can tell you I don't think that these were squeaking yet, but I'm pretty sure it was the ones in the front. Once the brake pad itself has worn down far enough, these will start squeaking up against your rotor. They'll be making a screeching noise, and that's to tell you that your brake pads are getting low. We're going to take this pin out and just going to look at it, make sure that it doesn't have any corrosion or anything like that. We're gonna wipe it off, and then we're gonna add some of this high performance brake lubricant. Also, the package comes with a couple of little bags of this brake grease. You can also use that. You don't have to buy a bottle like I did. But I have 5 vehicles that I'm constantly doing work to, so I always have a bottle of brake grease at home. And then you're gonna reseat this boot. Make sure that it's sealed properly. Gonna wipe off and do the exact same thing to the other side. Now we're gonna take this brake grease and we're gonna put it down in here where we're gonna put that new bracket. We're gonna do it in both of these spots, and then we're gonna do it on the other side as well. Now take the bracket and slide that in. And then once you have the brackets in, let's put just a little bit more of that grease. And now let's take our bolts and put them back in. Now that those are tight, we're going to go ahead and put our brake pads on. Now we have the rear pad on. Let's go ahead and put the front pad on. All right, now that we have the brake pads in, let's go ahead and put our caliper back in. And we're going to use our 5/8 socket. Now let's go ahead and put our wheel back on, and we'll head over to the other side. All right, so last night we finished up the rear brake pads, and this morning we're going to go ahead and get started on the front. We're going to start by removing this caliper from the bracket. So let's get started. All right, now that the bracket is removed, we can go ahead and take the brake pads off. And as I suspected, the front ones were much worse than the rear ones. Go ahead and take both pads off, and we're going to take the brackets off as well. I want to take these out, and notice that this one is really dry. That is not good, but it did still slide back and forth. It does slide back and forth very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this off, and I'm going to add a little extra grease. So let's put that back inside, and we want to make sure that this boot is seated properly and just work it around just a little bit, especially if they're dry. Now let's do the other side. Hopefully it won't be dry. We're going to add a little bit of the grease to the bottom here where we're going to put our little squeak brackets. The one with the little tab sitting in. The big part of the bracket is going to be on the inside here. So the small part of the bracket is here, and then that little tab that squeaks, you want it to face the inside. That one is in there nice and snug. It's centered and perfect, ready to go. And now that you have the brackets on, let's go ahead and just put a little extra grease on the outside of the brackets as well. Now that you have the bracket installed, let's go ahead and put our brake pad on. Now, if you're messy like I am, you want to make sure that you wipe off your rotor and make sure that it's clean before you put on your new brake pad. Now you're going to take your brake pad, you want to slide it over. Also, if you're having an issue getting these two to push in for you, you can take one of your old brake pads, put it back where it normally would go, and then put your clamp in between, and then crank down your clamp. After we get this done, we're going to double check and make sure we fill our reservoir. And you can see that both of them are pushed all the way back now. Let's go ahead and put our caliper back in place. If you get the package that I have in the description below, it comes with a bottle of the .3. So fill up your reservoir, put the cap back on. After you turn on your vehicle, you're gonna pump your brakes a few times, and then you're gonna take it for a test drive. If this video was helpful and you enjoyed it, please hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.